the general manager of Drive Chicago and also the senior um, technical and communications director for the Chicago Auto Show. I'm happy to be joined by Eduardo Gelista. He is with Ram. He's the brand manager for the Ram 1500. And today we're going to talk about the Ram TRX. Hello, Eduardo.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me. Very excited about this opportunity to talk about the TRX. We're very happy with these still recent launch. It's been very well received by Ram enthusiasts, but also we are seeing that we're drawing a lot of attention to the brand and a lot of customers that would not otherwise have considered a pickup truck. They're now purchasing a TRX, and I guess we'll probably have the opportunity to figure out together why it is. Obviously, because of the attributes it has: luxury vehicle, performance truck, whatever. But very very happy with this launch.
Yeah. So, Eduardo, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the Ram TRX, I mean, Stellantis is a group with the Chrysler brand, the Dodge brand, and the Ram brand. You guys are known for shoehorning high horsepower motors into your vehicles and creating really performance and enthusiast vehicles. And to tell you the truth, I've driven this vehicle, and I was absolutely knocked out, as you would expect, by the performance. I mean, it really is, and we'll talk about all that in a second. But I think the biggest thing, and I don't want to use the word wrong here, but the biggest thing I want to say is that it was docile in traffic. And by that I mean it was a vehicle that you could drive every day. You can live with it. The creature comforts are all there. And I was just so impressed with what you guys have done at Ram to make this truck a beast at one moment, and then at the same time a perfectly livable vehicle that you can drive around and utilize as almost a regular vehicle. Not that a lot of people will, because there's just so much on tap. So let's start off by let's talk about what you guys did to make this a TRX and what's different about it than your regular Ram.
Well, I think you touched on the very core of it, right? Which is the engine. That's the heart of the TRX, and that's what performance seekers are looking for. So it does have the 6.2 V8 engine. It generates 702 horsepower and 650 pound-foot of torque. So that's huge, and that's basically what starts creating the truck and what starts generating the excitement about, wait a minute, this is really a performance pickup truck, right? But in addition to that, the engineering of it, as you mentioned, it is designed for off-roading. So I'm very happy that you also enjoyed it, obviously on the roads. But it is designed for off-roading. It is 2.5 inches higher than a regular Ram 1500. It is 8 inches wider than the 1500. So that starts giving you a little bit of an idea of the concept that they had in mind when they designed it, right? They designed it with extreme performance in mind. And it features high strength steel frame that uses advanced materials to be lightweight, stiff, yet durable. So anyway, it has a perfect balance, I think, of power, of off-road capability, and of course, which is something you probably saw, luxury in the interiors, right? So I think it's just a home run of a truck.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. So there are competitors, obviously, to this vehicle out there. Ford's got one, Chevy's got one. I mean, even your own Ram Rebel is a lot like this vehicle, just doesn't quite have the performance from the engine standpoint that this vehicle, that the TRX does. But I think you mentioned something. It's wider, and that gives it this presence on road that
right.
It in competitive vehicles that I've driven, when you start to hustle on city roads and on ramps and off ramps of expressways, the suspension is set up for off-roading, so it's a little bit softer. There's a lot more travel, and the car kind of takes a the truck takes a funny set as you're going around those ramps and in high-speed maneuvers. There's a lot of pitching. I didn't feel any of that in the TRX, and that was something that really surprised me because I mean, I looked at the tires and I'm like, well, these are serious off-road tires. These aren't designed for street use, but yes, they were, and they were quiet too. Like I know that some of your competitors have these off-road tires, and when you get on the highway, there's all this noise and none of that. I mean, maybe there was noise and the cabin is just really well isolated. I don't know. But I mean, talk about what you guys did suspension wise. I know there's some brand names in there. And do you guys still have the independent rear suspension in the back too?
Yes, and by the way, it's interesting that you mentioned the tires. These are specifically designed for the TRX, right? By Goodyear. So these are everything about the truck, as you mentioned, is specifically designed for the performance that you felt. And by the way, this is something really cool about it. You probably want to talk about the 5 drive modes, and this is probably where you were going when you felt, okay, wait a minute, it feels different wherever I'm driving it. And yes, the TRX uses a performance tuned software that changes different elements of the dynamics of the truck, so that you can set it to driving sport and tow, snow, custom, and then there's also an auto mode. And this is super cool. So what this software does, it gives obviously the driver a lot more control by changing the 4-wheel drive system, the throttle response, and the transmission, and the paddle shifters, which by the way are Ram first, the paddle shifters, but we'll get to that. It changes the suspension, it changes the electronic power steering. So no matter where you're driving it, you do feel everything that the TRX has to give, right? And that's something pretty cool. By the way, speaking of drive modes, we are coming up with the new Baja mode, which basically calibrates the same dynamics of the truck that I was just saying, right? The throttle, the 4-wheel drive system, the transmission, the paddles, everything. But this one's designed for off-roading in the desert, for desert performance. So when you're on undulating, loose surfaces, it still provides you the best performance. So it's, again, yeah, engineered from the ground up to give you the best in any surface, any conditions that you're driving in.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate a couple of things too. Is you didn't take all of the edge off of the vehicle. So when you start this vehicle up, especially if you start it up in a garage, I mean, right off the bat, there's some serious horsepower under the hood. I mean, the exhaust note, it starts with a crackle. And as you get up in the rev band, yes, it makes some noise, but around town, it doesn't, which is kind of unique. I mean, you get a lot of cars, like you'll see this on the highway a lot, where there's a car that buzzes by you or something, and they're not even on the gas. It's just noisy, right? This vehicle's not that. It's so civil around town. The interior is so well appointed. Talk about some of the stuff in the interior, and we'll get to tech in a second, but let's just talk about some of the stuff that you're doing in the interior that is unique to Ram and unique to TRX.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, you're totally right. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, we wanted to attract new customers to our brand. We wanted to attract the attention of people that would otherwise not consider purchasing a pickup truck. And I think this is something that we managed since we launched the current generation of the Ram 1500, right? The refinement in the interiors is just there. It's outstanding. It's excellent. And we took that to the next level in the TRX. So we know that there are customers in the pickup truck world that basically just need a work truck. And we know that there are customers that they need a family mover. And we know that there's people that want a luxurious truck. And we know that there are people that are out there looking for performance. And I think the TRX balanced all of these, because it is a luxurious truck for sure, as you mentioned, in the interior. But it's also very capable, like any pickup truck should have. And of course, we talked about the engine, we talked about the amazing horsepower. So it has the performance capability that performance enthusiasts are looking for. So it just managed to get everything in an awesome package. Anybody that's not seen it, I invite them to either take a look at it at the auto show, at the Chicago Auto Show, or just go into ramtrucks.com, right, and check it out. And by the way, yeah, thank you for the shout out. We do have other Yeah, we do have other off-road trucks in our portfolio. You're totally right. The Rebel, everybody's favorite. I personally like the Power Wagon, especially in red. So we've got a broad range of off-road offerings that for anybody's taste, anybody's budget, and they're all out there, and they're all Ram, and they're all fantastic.
Yeah, I mean that you bring up something really interesting. I mean, really at Stellantis with all of your brands and all of your vehicles, I'm just actually working on the write-ups for the Chicago Auto Show website and listing all the vehicles, and I'm going through the Chrysler products and the Dodge and the Ram products. And you guys offer multiple engines. You even have manual transmissions in a few vehicles. Uh, and when I'm doing these other brands, in a truck, they might have two engines. In a car, one engine, that's all you get. And so realistically, I mean, we're talking about with the TRX, obviously the premium, the ultimate off-roading performance truck you can buy. But you can step down in the lineup. You don't have to pay that much money, and you can get 90% of that, just maybe not with all that horsepower, in another truck. You can do that in the Durango, for example. I mean, you can get 700 plus horsepower in a Durango, and you can also get just a V6 engine if you want. I mean, it's really unique what you guys have done, and the culture that you've created up there in Auburn Hills in Michigan, in that it's almost like you're building performance cars and enthusiast cars for people that love vehicles. And I think that's really cool in a day when you're seeing so many cars just come out so generic and so, we want to please everybody. You guys say, no, we're building vehicles for a reason. And that reason is because people love cars. And I think this is the perfect example of that, just like the Viper was when it came out way back in the early 90s. And it was like, what is this? You can't buy this. You can't drive this on the road. I mean, that car was so out there, and this vehicle is the embodiment of that vehicle, except you did everything else right. I mean, we talk about the tech. I mean, you've got all the safety systems are on this vehicle. There's a gorgeous touchscreen display available. Talk a little bit about the tech that's going on inside the TRX.
Yeah, and you mentioned, by the way, the culture, and you're totally right. That is the culture at Stellantis, and I love it. We design trucks or any kind of vehicle. You're totally right, for enthusiasts, and that's who is designing it. By the way, these are guys. You should see the engineers. These are guys that are really excited about what they're doing. I love going to the how we have the office section, if you've seen the Chrysler, the technical center, and then there's the engineering section on the other end of the hallway. I love going down there with the engineers. They really are excited about what they're doing. They're really, I can almost picture it. Somebody saying, "Let's put a 6.2 engine in the 1500." What? Okay, fine, let's do it. Yeah, it can totally be done, and let's boost up the horsepower. I can only imagine that conversation. And guess what? It could be done, and the result is the TRX, right? Now you talk about technology, and that is also another thing that's really cool about the TRX. I guess the most relevant one is that 12-inch screen, because as soon as you get into the cabin, you see that huge 12-inch touchscreen radio, which, by the way, was also one of the things that attract most of the people that went into the current generation of the Ram 1500. Right, it was very well received, and of course, it's there in the TRX. In the TRX, it includes the Sirius XM 360L with personalized stations by Pandora, and it has a 900 watt 19-inch Harman Kardon sound system. So talk about luxury and talk about pampering yourself, right, when you're inside the TRX. Of course, I talked about the drive modes, which from a technology perspective is also another really neat thing that the TRX incorporates. The active head-up display. This is one of the first I think the first vehicle in our lineup that includes the head-up display, and it can show up to 5 different content in the same at once. And then other stuff which is also available, blind spot monitoring, which is expected, of course, of a vehicle of this height, and digital rearview mirror. So anyway, a lot of you're right, a lot of technology firsts that we managed to put into the TRX that complement everything else we've been talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting when you guys first put that huge screen in the Ram. It was almost like, well, wait a second, trucks are the best place for big screens because you have a ton of real estate, right? And so you did it right. You still kept knobs and buttons for the things that people do most, so that you don't have to hunt around in a menu. You integrated Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which I think is a really smart thing to do years before many of your competitors did. But then, with this TRX, I think what's really neat is you brought like race car into the interior. The start stop button is red on the truck. There's carbon fiber. There's stitched leather. It's seriously business-like when you get in there. The steering wheel, I mean, it's a unique steering wheel. It's got a flat bottom steering wheel, which is what you see in sports cars. You guys did, like you mentioned, you added the head-up display, which is a first for your brand that we're starting to see. And really that evolved in race car technology and aerospace. And now it's trickling down into the automotive sector. You don't see it on mainstream vehicles yet, but it's starting to get there. And the paddle shifters are just awesome. And actually it works really well. You get some paddle shifters that are just basically, not really calibrated right. I don't know what the way they do it, but they seem kind of slow or lazy. These kind of snap off the gear shifts, which is cool, almost like a race car would with a straight shifter. I mean, it's very, very cool. But at the same time, this truck's still pretty capable. I mean, it's still a truck, right? I mean, you can still tow with it. You can still haul a little bit. I mean, the bed is a little bit compromised with that spare tire in the back, but I mean, it's still got truckness to it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the idea, right? To take a pickup truck and then just add a lot of performance to it, and of course, luxury, a little bit of luxury. It's a really cool recipe, and I think the result is outstanding, right? I mean, it's been very well received, as I was saying, and it's been received a lot of awards and accolades. Very quickly recognized by Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By the way, that was the third time that the Ram brand received that award. Truck of Texas and four-wheeler pickup truck of the year, Current Driver's 10th Best. So yeah, I think all the effort that went into putting this truck together really paid off. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it's attracting new customers into our brand. It's drawing attention from people that normally would not even get a pickup truck.
Yeah, and it's actually attracting some questions. So I'm going to ask a few, and they're pretty good. One person asks, "Is it true the TRX is the fastest, most powerful pickup on the market?" That's a pretty easy one.
That's a pretty easy one. The answer is yes, it is true. And the secret for that one is, as I mentioned before, the 6.2 V8 engine, right? 702 horsepower and 650 foot-pound of torque.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest. I've driven one 0 to 60 in a little bit over 4 seconds with the four-wheel drive. It's not really a problem getting the car to hook up either. Sometimes you get pickup trucks that are super powerful, but they might only have rear-wheel drive because they're a performance type truck. But no, this one just stomp the pedal and go. And if you want to use the paddle shifters, There's a launch mode. If you really want to take it out and see what it can do, which helps protect the engine and transmission, but gets the most out of performance. So yeah, this truck is I think we can say badass right from the get-go. All right, so you've probably done this a couple times before. What do you think people are most surprised about this truck? What surprises them the most when they actually get to see it and touch it?
I think it is the interior. The interior in terms of the luxury, the comfort that you see once you're inside the cabin, and the interior in terms of the technology and the buttons and the stuff. Because you go into the TRX and you expect to see performance, because that's what we've been talking about, right? You know this is a huge engine, and you know that Stellantis is famous for having really good engines, really powerful engines. So that is what you expect. But then you're inside the TRX, and it does have that wow factor of, I was expecting to be in a pickup truck, but I am in a luxury vehicle here. This is a good thing. So I guess that's a good surprise that people feel when they are inside our truck.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with you. When obviously you look at the exterior of this vehicle, and you guys have done a lot. We haven't even talked about what you did on the outside, but this truck stands out. Not only is it wider, and you can tell it's
Yeah.
wider, it's mean looking in the front. I mean, it looks like it's ready for whatever you could throw at it. But then you open the door and you're like, wait a second, this thing is really nice on the inside. I mean, just the way that you guys have put this truck together, and yeah, it's not cheap, but uh, that's not the point of this vehicle. I mean, the point of this, if you want to save some money, you can go down to the Rebel or the Power Wagon. The point of this vehicle is to blend all of that performance, all of that capability, whether it's off-road or on-road, and then all of the latest that you guys have in terms of tech and comfort and creature conveniences. And so I think you've done a great job with that without, creating something that is so out of reach and so astronomically priced that there's no way anyone could afford it. And I think something that's interesting, and I want to ask another question from a listener here, is the Jeep brand is known for hiding little things throughout the cabin of the vehicle, and on the inside and the outside, they're kind of called Easter eggs. And they're just things that harken back to the heritage of the brand and the vehicle. Are there some Easter eggs on here that people can be looking for?
There are Easter eggs, and I guess our design people have a lot of fun with those ones, because and you have to look for them. And again, when people go to the Chicago Auto Show, get close to the TRX and try to find them. There are little Ram signs or little T-Rexes wherever you can find them on the truck. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
neat
I mean,
stuff.
I noticed some stuff like in headlight bezels, and I noticed some
Yeah.
stuff on in some trim places, and I was like, oh, they were like, let's just put this there, let's put that there. So I mean, maybe make it a game at the auto show where people can go and find it and take pictures of it and post it on social media. That would be kind of cool
Absolutely.
to
And
see.
they provide a third wow factor, I think.
Yeah,
You mentioned it. You look at the TRX on the outside, it's a beast. It's huge. Got a very impressive stance, and you're like, wow. Then you go on the inside of the truck and you go, okay, double wow. But then once you own it and you drive it, and you start finding these Easter eggs, which you don't find them all at once. They will pop out after you've been around the truck for, I don't know, a couple of months. And that's a third. Oh, wow. It's a really cool thing.
yeah. I mean, well, and anytime you start it up, you know that you got a TRX. So, uh, you know, let's talk. We've kind of avoided the point up until here, but let's talk about pricing and availability for this truck. Where's it at price point, and can you actually go and buy one, or are they sold out?
We start at 70,325. That's the base TR. And this is where I get the opportunity to mention that we do have three different levels of TRs. So the TR base, so to speak, that one is the TR that provides you what the TR is supposed to provide you, right? Off-road performance. And it's got skid plates, and it's got the 18-inch wheels, Goodyear that we talked about, of course, all-terrain tires. It has the engine. So it has anything you need to go off-roading and feel excited about your truck. Then we go to the TR1. The TR1, I'm going to summarize it by saying it has appearance elements that change. So, for example, the seats are now leather seats. The steering wheel is now leather with suede steering wheel. It has body color handles, that sort of thing. So that's the next level. And then the third level that we have, I'm going to call it more of a technology-oriented TRX, the TR2 level, and that one has stuff like memory seats, memory mirrors, remote start, surround view camera, ventilated seats, rear and front, stuff like that. So these are the three levels. The TRXs, they are selling really quickly. They're turning super fast. We couldn't be happier about that. But yeah, sure, of course you can find one. Yes, sir.
So where's the best place to start? Is it go to Dodge.com?
Go to
Right, or
ramtrucks.com.
right, Ram. Sorry about that.
Exactly.
Ram Trucks, yeah.
Click find my
Ramtrucks.com.
TRX. Play around with it. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun designing your TRX. Changing. We've got 6 exterior colors. We've got tons of little packages that you can add on, and then find your dealer. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Eduardo. Really, really appreciate your time today. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I mean, every time I get a loan that's a Stellantis brand product, I'm always looking forward to driving it because I know that it was made for someone like me who loves to drive a car. And really, really appreciate it. Even Pacifica's got a sport model, so that's kind of cool. So thanks very much. We look forward to seeing the vehicle at the auto show in a few months. And anything else you guys have in store for us, please let us know. We'll share it out.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch, and we'll see you at the show.